is a Geek History of Time,
where we connect nerdery to the real world. My name is Ed Blaylock. I'm a 7th grade world history teacher, currently dealing with one orphan 8th grade English section in the middle of my day. Kill me now. And I'm a father of a 14-month-old little boy who I have already put a wooden sword in his hands, and it's only a matter of time before it becomes a metal one. Damien, take it away.
Yeah, I'm Damien Harmony. I'm a Latin teacher, formerly a social science teacher. I am a father of a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, both of whom got Swiss Army knives in the last 3 months from me they got it for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And I gave them
an appropriate Valentine's Day gift. How else are you going to cut out someone's heart?
Exactly. And I also made them give me a coin in exchange, but as tradition demands. My children were both told all the rules. They had to parrot back the rules to me. And I told them, now eventually you will end up cutting yourself. Do not feel shame in this. It happens. You're dealing with a knife. Come to me. We will bandage it. Yes. Even adults do it, as Ed is holding up his fingers. Interesting, it's not the same 2 fingers he normally holds up at me.
No, normally that's just one. Well, each hand.
Yes. But the next morning, I'm in the shower, and my daughter comes in holding her finger saying, I cut myself. Okay. Not 12 hours earlier had I given her the knife. And I said, I'm like, did you pay attention to the rules? No. Now are you going to? Yes. All right, go get a piece of Scotch tape, and I'll come back and fix it when I'm done with my shower. Because that's the dad that I am. We actually have with us a returning guest.
Yes.
We never had guests before, and then we had one last week, and we had so much fun, and we also didn't finish, that we needed to have him back.
Yes.
So, Rex, take it away.
Hi, I am Rex Stem. I am a Latin professor at UC Davis, and it is through the world of Latin teaching that I have come to know Damien Harmony. I do not have the cultural geekery that my 2 hosts have, but I think I can help with this particular topic.
A very great deal. And by the way, can I just add, go Ags.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah. I like that I'm sitting across the table from 2 people who are related to a school that I never could have gotten into.
Well, I couldn't get into it anymore either. So,
yes,
age gave me an advantage in that a long time ago it was not as elite as it is now.
Gotcha. So last week we talked about essentially it's zombies all the way down.
I love the way you put that. That's
Thank
brilliant.
You.
That's good.
Caesar was in Gaul for 8 years, and during that time, he fought the Gauls, he fought the Germans, he fought the Britons, took his show on the road even further, and while he was on tour, as it were, giving his greatest hits to all the Gauls, which, by the way...
With a gladius. His greatest hits with a gladius. Actually, first with a pilum, right? Am I...
You throw that first.
Yes.
Yep. Right. You got 3 of them usually, so you throw them in succession, and that's actually just to get rid of their shields.
Yeah.
Like, bonus points if you kill a guy, but it's mostly to make their shields hard to wield, making them unwieldy.
Yes.
But I throw little translation jokes up to my students, so they have to translate, and then they realize how bad the joke is. And one of the jokes I threw up at them just yesterday was their
vomitus.
Yes,
clearly.
Yes. I expelled it. But it was essentially it's in Latin, so they had to translate this. But it said, "Why does the elevator keep taking me to the lobby?" Says the citizen who keeps trying to get to the 50th floor. And what I love about that joke is they have to be literate to realize how stupid it is, and you've already got your glasses off. So that was one of them.
And we begin with "Good day, sir."
The other one is on their syllabus for the AP kids.
No.
And it's ad frenum, ad Gallias, ad cadendam res publicam. It's to the Rhine, to the Gauls, till the Roman Republic falls.
Okay. All right.
I got a point
that's
back.
A point right there. Yeah. I like that.
It's from a very dirty and nasty rap song from the early 2000s. I've changed the lyrics, but I've kept the rhythm. So
gotta have the rhythm.
You gotta have the rhythm.
And the rhyme actually is very similar.
Yeah,
so
it's actually. But
oh God, that's bad.
It is, but it kind of works with this.
Yeah,
because it was why Caesar was in Gaul.
Yeah, well, yes,
ostensibly.
Yeah,
but as we found out last week, he is not in fact in Gaul just to advance his own career. He's in Gaul to protect Rome.
Yeah, from what you have
clearly proven,
clearly proven, and very astutely found the evidence for. This is actually a truly apocalyptic level threat. So I pick up where we left off.
I think we really have to give a lot of credit to Caesar as a writer.
Yes,
because of the skill with which he drops these important clues into the narrative. And many parts of the narrative really are just straight up Caesar military narrative. This is what Romans do in a foreign land.
Sure.
And yet he does cluster significant differences in places where you can see that there are multiple audiences possible for the story that he is telling. And that can explain, I think, why we see things that we think people should know about, because this is what Caesar would have expected, that certain readers would have seen what was going on.
Oh, absolutely. So we left our story last week with our Ambiorix, a chieftain alongside Indutio Marus. Ambiorix of the... I'm blanking. Is he from the Eburones?
I believe so.
Because Indutio Marus was. No, Indutio Marus was of the Treveri. Yes, so yes, he is of the Eburones.
Yes.
Inside baseball, basically.
Yeah.
But he's one of the northern Belgic tribes.
Okay.
Who
are Celts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Technically, they're not. Actually, they're called the Belgae in Book 1, and he talks about the center part of Gaul, who in their own language are called Celts, but we call them the Gauls.
Okay.
So technically, the Eburones might be northern Celts, southern Belgae. I'm not quite sure where the overlap stops.
Okay.
But
I'm speaking the anthropological, linguistic, Celto speaking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. In fact, Ambiorix, I believe there's a statue of him in Belgium. The Belgians have some hagiography.
Well, there's a great deal in modern Belgium as part of their nationalist phase. You know, when Germany was busy talking about the Germans, and the French were talking about Big Chuck. And the Franks within Belgium and within other parts of France and into Britain, there was this resurgence of hagiography, as you say, for the heroes of each nation's Celtic past.
Right.
And for the Belgians, because a lot of archaeological evidence has found a great deal of very early Celtic stuff in and around that part of Europe. It was a very big deal for their nationalist movement, so it doesn't surprise me at all that there would be a statue to this guy.
Ambiorix. He left to go fight the zombie horde. Now remember, he'd attacked the Romans to try to get his grain back.
Yes.
Lost.
Because his people insisted we got to fight him.
Right. And he's like, we're going to lose, but okay. So then he loses, declares a parlay, spills the beans on everything. Lets the Romans know exactly what's going on. The Germans are coming across. They'll be here in 2 days. Get out while the getting's good. You can leave through my territories. He promised safe passage to them. Which, if you've seen The Godfather, you know that that's a bad sign. But I actually say that he was honest. He was being true to him. He was their ally. He voluntarily gave grain. So then he leaves to go fight the Germans, the zombie hordes. Now, Caesar never calls them the zombie hordes. Does call them the Germans, though. And then you have this wonderful argument between two Roman leaders, Sabinus and Cotta. Sabinus says, we got to get out of here. Cotta says, no, we stay because Caesar didn't tell us to leave. We got to get out of here. They're coming. No, we're fine. Did you hear what he said? We have got to get out of here. The only chance we have of safety is in speed, and we're spending it arguing. Cotta says, we just beat them, so clearly we're going to be fine. They go back and forth until like midnight. Finally, Cotta says, fine, prevail if you must. let it never be said, though, that, I was afraid of dying. So if you want to go, you can go. Okay? And they're basically arguing on how to handle the zombie horde. Do we clear out of here and then go nestle up with the next guy over, which I believe was Cicero, actually the brother of the famous orator.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he gets a lot of screen time in this episode
Really?
of Caesar's book. Yeah.
I'm amazed that Caesar would give that much time and attention to
he's a
brother of
courtman.
somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was well, we'll see where the story goes.
Yeah.
But Caesar is also very good at maintaining ties with all the other important figures.
Okay.
Tremendous amount of correspondence going back and forth from Gaul. In fact, that's a sort of corroborative way of believing that much of what Caesar includes in the story, in the work that we know as commentaries on the Gallic War, must have a backbone of truth to it, because so many other Romans would have known what was going on. Okay. We know that Quintus is writing letters to Marcus, his brother, and vice versa, and we know that Cicero and Caesar are exchanging letters. So there's a whole web of information that is surrounding these events. And presumably some of that back channel communication might have confirmed the story that we're telling.
Okay.
And it's entirely possible that Caesar used these familiar relationships. Also, remember, Crassus was under Caesar, I think up until Book 5, because he leaves to go be with his dad in a very ill-fated attack on the Parthians.
Yes.
I mean, it just doesn't go well for either of them. And ending the triumvirate, destabilizing the stool. But he has
Terrible
these...
when that happens. You got to be careful about the water you drink when you're out of the country.
I said good day, sir. Am I doing
Education.
So, but it's also possible that, like, the correspondence that didn't survive, but must have happened, brothers writing back and forth to each other, family members letting each other know what's going on, could have been much more explicit in what's going on, which would have maybe even given a cipher to the Senate of, like, when he talks about these people, he means this thing. Don't know, can't really get into that because that's not evidence.
Yeah.
But it does stand to reason that it is a
We
potential.
can infer.
Yes.
Okay.
So Sabinus and Cotta are arguing. You could say one is being cowardly and wants to get out of here because he's afraid of the Germans. Or he's saying we have to get out of here because we can't stand against a zombie horde. And Cotta is saying we are the last bulwark in this neighborhood. Not for another 100 miles is another camp. We have to make a stand. And they go back and forth as to what the best defense against zombies might be.
One way you can tell that this story is different is that 2 years ago and 2 books ago in Caesar's campaign, Sabinus is actually in Aquitania, somewhere down in the southwest part of Gaul, and he ends up with a small one legion fighting a very large force, and effectively gets besieged and hunkers down and lures almost the Gauls into believing that he's afraid of them until they come up and let their guard down, and then he rushes out and drives them off and kills a great number of them.
Okay.
So he is willing to undergo siege conditions. He is willing to be strategic.
Yes.
He's excellent at recognizing how to deceive an enemy and how to use messengers back and forth to deceive an enemy. He's very good at that. And yet in this situation, he clearly is scared shitless and doesn't want to have this fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
this makes sense.
now to the people in the forum, they would understand.
Yeah.
Same guy, same situation,
right?
Totally different reactions.
Right.
Yeah.
This is because the enemy is different.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, again, to the people in the forum, they would be like, oh, he's lost his nerve. It's been too long.
Yeah.
And so you have a clear dichotomy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's like Rex said, this is a very different fight. And so the people in the forum aren't hip to the fact that it's zombies.
The groundlings don't understand the implications of what's going on.
They can't. There would be riots in the streets.
Yeah.
There already will be the next year when Clodius gets killed. So they thought they had 2 days, by the way. So stretching into midnight, not a big deal. They start to pack up all their luggage. Just all the stuff that they'd won in Gaul this whole time, from the fights of taking from normal folk, So they pack up what they can, and they decide what they're going to leave and what they're going to keep, right?
Okay.
And they've pared down their luggage train as best they can, but they leave with all their luggage practically. Not all of it, like half of it. But still, they're not running for speed. They're getting out of there, not expecting to come back. This place is forfeit.
This is an orderly withdrawal for a long period of time.
It or should be.
Yeah.
But what happens about a chapter later, is they're ambushed. The Romans think they've been betrayed by Ambiorix and the Gauls, the Eburones. It's possible that they're ambushed by Ambiorix. It certainly reads as though they've been ambushed by Ambiorix. They're ambushed maybe 2 miles out from their camp, and they basically get into a valley. And they're stopped at the front, they're stopped at the back, and they're just rushed into. It's bad. And what they do immediately is what all good Romans would do. But for once, Roman strategy doesn't bear out. Caesar points this out, by the way. He says a normal thing to do in this kind of battle is to go into a circle, a globe, essentially a shield, a
rounded shield
wall. And it doesn't work. And he even says this is not anything that should be held against them. They did everything they should have done. Well, against normal folk, that would have been enough. It's Romans. We win all the time, is kind of the tone that happens. But the strategy that the Eburones employs is decidedly different than most Gallic strategies. They attack essentially like 2 miles, so that's about 2 to 4 hours into the night. So it's about 3 or 4 in the morning, maybe dawn. And they attack by rushing in and then pulling back, and rushing in and pulling back, and rushing in and pulling back. But there is an order to what they're doing, but it's very surgy.
Okay. And
then on top of that, they are just raining down darts. And I'm not talking like darts that you see at a pub. I'm talking like the plumbata darts, like the darts that you were shocked that they were that big in Dungeons and Dragons or AD&D. Like that's what a dart is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Lawn darts.
Yeah, they're
Yeah. So it's
small javelins.
Yes,
really is what they are.
Feathered javelins too. And the thing is, they're raining those in, and they're attacking and withdrawing and attacking. And so what they do is they draw Romans out. And as soon as the Romans come out in a phalanx or a maniple, then they just swarm them. And they also attack the weak parts of the circle. And then the Romans withdraw, and they attack them as they're withdrawing. And it's just this constant back and forth, and it just does not end. It's unending. In case people didn't know what does not end means, I guess. It's a confusing strategy, but it is not a mindless strategy.
Okay.
Which is odd. And it's also not a Gallic strategy that we've seen. Because, again, they sieged them before. And this time they're pushing back and forth.
Can I interrupt there?
Please do.
So, also in the debate between Sabinus and Cotta, when they're trying to figure out if they should stay or go, it is just dropped that Ariovistus is dead. And if you remember from the last episode, Ariovistus was the original the first German, so-called German figure that Caesar fought in the first year of the war, and turned out to be the leader, the king of some sort of zombie horde. Caesar has been spending the intervening years looking for him, or what animated him, or how he became to be what he was. And is at this moment that his name appears again for the first time
in 3 books.
And we hear suddenly that he is dead.
And that the Germans are really upset about it. So weird just name drop there.
Yes.
Now,
so when you see this unusual attack,
right,
then you start to realize that there might be a connection to the sort of sequence of events that we had back in.
Okay.
Why else would he have mentioned him?
Yeah.
Now, some fun details, and my students, I teach this to them every year because it's part of the AP curriculum, but which is a nice little overlap that we have. But there's some fun details. There's a guy named Balventius who gets skewered through each leg. I don't know if he gets one dart in each leg or if a javelin goes through both legs.
Okay.
Either he's foosball. Or, he's sitting there and he can't sit down anymore without getting stuck to the chair.
Yeah.
Lucanius goes to help his son and is devoured. Not actually, they don't say devoured, but he's overcome, and I believe he loses his head. Kata takes a slingshot to the face.
Now, I want to clarify.
And lives.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That had to leave a mark.
Yeah.
Yes. To clarify for the audience, as a weapons nerd,
yes.
When they talk about a slingshot in this context,
mm-hmm.
we're not talking about a kid's toy.
Yeah, not Little Rascals.
What we're talking about here in the classical world was the closest thing they had to a handgun.
Mm-hmm.
It shot. Typically, they were lead.
Yep.
Roughly kind of football shaped.
Mm-hmm.
Bullets.
They were called acorns or glandes,
Yeah.
Which is glands,
Yeah.
which testicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were bullets.
Yes.
And anybody who has actually seen anybody using a sling
mm-hmm.
can tell you that they generate speeds and kinetic energy way higher than most modern viewers would think.
92 miles an hour on average.
Yeah.
By the way.
And so this is a potentially
lethal. It's gonna go through your noggin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simulations
mm-hmm.
Utilizing ballistic dummies
yeah.
to simulate human skulls.
Yeah, you can YouTube
hit with these things. Yeah, you can find videos about this.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm the kind of nerd I'd recommend looking them up.
Yeah.
But you can see that this would puncture the skull.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're hitting the side of the head, it'll go all the way through to the white matter.
Yeah.
If you're hitting the front of the head, it'll give you a serious concussion, possibly
it'll tent your dome.
Skull. So taking one of those to the Beezer and surviving is impressive. He's a tough son of a bitch.
He is. Well, keep in mind Romans also had helmets, but he gets hit in the face.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Specifically in the face.
So
that's Henry V level badassery right there.
Now, I want to take a break for a second and stop down. I want to bring in a term that you'd brought up in the last episode.
Oh.
Lich.
Okay. Yes.
A lich is, by the scholar Gary Gygax, defined as an undead creature, the result of a transformation as a powerful magician or king striving for immortality, uses spells or rituals to bind his soul and intellect to a phylactery. Liches hold the power over hordes of lesser undead creatures, using them as soldiers and agents.
Yes.
So...
And unlike those lesser undead, they are far from mindless.
And when you have a lich in the field, your undead are far from mindless as well. Now they can carry out strategy instead of just mobbing.
Yeah.
So, Arioistus is a lich. Ambiorix is a lich.
Yeah.
He never explicitly shows his face. And Sabinus calls for parley. He actually sends I believe a Spanish interpreter named Pompey.
Huh.
Just a fun little way for Caesar to throw a little extra shade at his former son-in-law. By the way, Julia has died by this point.
Oh, okay.
And he decided not to marry back into the Caesar family. So...
Beginnings of the fracture.
Yeah, okay. Caesar is throwing just a little bit, hey, he sent his... And he names him. And, he doesn't name hardly anybody unless they get killed. And he names this guy as going to Ambiorix and asking for parley. And Ambiorix says, I will allow parley. And now, I want to talk about lich magic for just a second. You can influence the living as well as the dead. Mm-hmm. Very powerful magic. And Ambiorix, in the book, he talks about how Ambiorix kind of convinces Sabinus. By the way, Cotta says, I'm not going to parley. I don't go to armed enemies. Hey, having taken a shot to the face.
Yeah.
He knows the score.
Yeah.
He knows they're going to lose, and he's going to die a Roman. Sabinus is trying to save his men. He's still trying to get word out. I think it's possible that Sabinus is actually delaying so that messengers can get further away. But that's me wanting to see the best in folk. But he uses his magic to force the Romans to throw down their arms. Sabinus takes a bunch of centurions with him, and Ambiorix says, if you throw down your weapons, I'll talk to you. No Roman speaks with an armed enemy when they're not armed. They all throw down their weapons. That's not normal Roman stuff. That's not just fear. Even when the Romans were afraid of the Germans in the forest, they didn't throw down their weapons.
Yeah, no, you would think, as a matter of fact, if you were scared or nervous, that would be more of a reason to be, no,
Yes.
I'm going to keep my weapons,
Yeah.
thank you.
They throw them down. They're surrounded, and they are killed. Now, fun thing happens here. They let out they, being the Gauls, according to their custom, shout out victory and raise their war cry and make an attack on our men, breaking their ranks. It's a lich howl.
Okay.
This frightens the Romans unnaturally. I would also like to point out a somewhat important point here. Caesar does this wonderful thing grammatically of separating the humanity from the Gauls when he talks about them. When he talked about them when the Helvetii did their thing and they came to him across the Rhone River and parlayed with him, he never really quoted them. He quoted himself, always in the third person, never really quoted them. He quotes Romans, doesn't really quote the other side. What he does is he usually engages in a thing called indirect discourse. They said that such and such and so and so. It's a wonderful tool that you can use grammatically in Latin. It's a lot of fun. It's very tidy. Another way you can do it is you can talk about indirect commands and indirect questions, and you can set up these subordinate clauses using a mood called the subjunctive mood. Now, English nerds may or may not remember the subjunctive forms of things, but essentially the subjunctive mood is like a level removed from reality. You're talking about a thing, you're not engaging the thing. So if I tell you I know where the cookies are, I didn't tell you the fact of the location of the cookies. I told you I know the concept that is the location of the cookies. So it's just a slight level removed.
All right.
You use a subjunctive to that.
Okay.
I know, and I'm pulling back.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm just saying we're getting pretty deep linguistic.
Word nerdy.
Here. Yeah,
yes.
word nerdy.
Every time Ambiorix is talking, almost every time, he's using the subjunctive. There's your code. I mean, there are plenty of good grammatical reasons to use it, but he hardly ever uses it with the Romans when they're doing things. They get the indicative. They get the this is how it was mood. Ambiorix and the Gauls get the subjunctive mood regularly. He seems to almost reserve it for them. He doesn't talk about them as though they are real humans. He talks about them as though they are conceptual humans only. In other words...
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the Romans run to Labanus, the Lich Ambiorix, who, by the way, must have been turned while he was fighting them. While he was fighting Ariovistus, he got turned. In that 3-hour time where he's like, I'm going to go off and fight, buy you some time, and then he comes back, and because his entire countenance has changed, and he doesn't even let the Romans see his face, there's a lot going on there where suddenly he's ambushed them. Like, he knew he wasn't going to win the first attack, but now he does that. Now, Lich Ambiorix runs to the other tribes, gets on a horse, and goes day and night. And he talks about not sleeping. He talks about Ambiorix statim cum equitatu in aduatukos proficiscetur. So basically, and neque noctem, neque diem intermitted, right? So Ambiorix immediately, with a horse, headed into the Aduatuci territory, and neither night nor day interrupted him. He goes and goes and goes. Now, we saw this in the Blitzkrieg when they were on meth. He doesn't have meth.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He also doesn't have
Excedrin.
Right. He doesn't also have a need to sleep though. Yeah, dexedrine, Excedrin, little, yellow, different. I could just see Breaking Bad being
psychosis inducing.
Yeah. But he doesn't do that, and he easily persuades the Nervii to his cause as well. He's going around to other leaders and biting them and turning them into zombies that he then controls Immediately. Now note that up to this point, there are only 2 foreigners that get the indicative with any regularity, and that's Ariovistus and Ambiorix. They're the only 2. All the hordes move in the subjunctive, and even they are getting less and less of the indicative voice. He infects multiple tribes. He begins the big attacks. He gets the Centaurones, the Grudii, the Lavaci, the Pleumoxi, the Godomni, and everyone who's around. And he gets them to convene on Cicero's headquarters. And, of course, the 7th Legion, who is always out foraging, they're bait. They always get attacked while they're foraging. It's a trope. It's like, are you in the 7th Legion? You're getting attacked.
They're the red shirts of the Roman Legion.
Yeah, they're the kids sneaking off to have sex at Camp Crystal Lake.
Okay.
You know, that's just going to happen.
Didn't all the kids sneak off to have sex at Camp Crystal Lake?
Not in my cabin.
Oh, well.
So, now Cicero is holed up in his place. A few messengers have gotten through to him. By the time the messengers get through to him, which is only a day's march, maybe 2 days' march away, 8 tribes practically are descending upon him from multiple points. Yeah. Only explanation for this is an unsleeping, uneating, unending energy army. And they attack, and Cicero does what Cotta wanted to do. He says, no, we're going to stay. We're going to withstand the siege. Everybody works really hard to be safe. Now you have the success story of Book 5 of Cicero. He refuses to parley because he knows he's up against a lich, and he knows that the lich magic will put him at a huge disadvantage. He says, no. And he basically says that, we're going to fight you, and then we'll fight the Germans after you. That's fine. The Nervii zombies dig fortifications. They besiege them by digging a trench all the way around them. But as they had no supply of iron tools which are requisite for this service, for in less than 3 hours they completed a fortification of 10 miles in circumference. They dug a ditch 10 miles around these guys in the winter in northern France without iron tools.
Yeah, that's bone fingers right there.
Yes.
That's pretty conclusive. I got to tell you.
Now you've got a week-long attack on Cicero's guys using fire.
Really?
Yeah, they're big on.
That's not something you see usually.
No, it's not. Although the Gauls were fond of putting pots of clay on fire and then throwing them into forts because they knew that the Romans were using Gallic thatch roofing, easily to catch on fire. Right. Cicero's guys keep weathering the storm. They keep fighting and fighting and fighting. They are sending messengers out as often as they can, and every time they do, the Gauls catch them and torture them to death in front of the Romans. Mm-hmm. So not only is your message not getting through, we're sending a message to your runners next time. You don't want to run out here. But think of the cruelty that is. Back then people were cruel, but wow. Labanus stays put. Caesar actually finally they get message through to Caesar. And he does. This is a guy that is promised great rewards if he can get through. And so he has to go out amongst them, and he wraps the note around a spear. And the note's written in Greek letters, by the way. Mm. Fun fact, not Roman letters. Because if you were a Gaul who had been helping the Romans, you may have learned Roman letters. You ain't learning Greek letters. Okay. The only people that would have that would be the Celts. Or, I'm sorry, not the Celts, the Druids.
Okay.
Druids aren't part of this. They're exempt from war.
Okay.
So he sends them with Greek letters saying, send help. Wrapped around a spear. This messenger manages to get through because he is dressed as a Gaul amongst the Gauls. I'm thinking he probably smeared the blood of other people on him and kind of stumbled and shambled about looking like the undead until he was far enough to the back ranks and then took off.
Okay.
Labanus, Caesar gets the note, says, come help, and he turns to Labanus, his favorite guy, and he says, can you supply any troops? Or do you need to stay put? This wonderful moment, because Caesar shows that he trusts his men completely. Labanus says, I don't have any troops to spare. I'm sorry. And Caesar says, all right, cool. And let's get going.
Okay.
Labanus is the southernmost. Well, not the southernmost. That's Roscius. But he's the southernmost in that longitudinal line.
Okay.
Roscius is like, 2 time zones over, basically. But
Okay.
Labanus is the southernmost outpost in central Gaul. If he falls, there's nothing stopping this horde from going across the Alps.
Okay.
So Caesar says, you stay there, that's fine. Labanus stays put. Caesar hurries as hard as he can. Now the rest of Gaul, and by extension Rome, fighting him over there, so we don't have to fight him over here, needs to be protected, and Caesar puts all hope in speed. Now, when you're going against an army of zombies, speed is kind of your biggest weapon. So he moves as quickly as he can. The Lich King realizes that Caesar is coming to attack. He turns to attack Caesar. There's still the horde that's attacking Cicero. And there's even a wonderful quote, and it says, "Some began to pull down the ramparts with their bare hands. Others began to fill up the trenches."
Wow.
Caesar shows up, fights them off, and essentially chases them away. Ambiorix leaves, cedes the field, and Caesar doesn't follow him. He's realized that they're the zombies, and he is not equal to the task yet. So he seeks mantelets, fortifications, and he is surprised that he never fought Gauls like this before.
One reason is that Caesar has spread his legions across
Yes.
a whole region of Gaul. So he only has, I think, 2 legions with him.
Yeah.
And then now that he's found what he's been looking for all this time,
Mm-hmm.
he realizes that he doesn't have his forces centralized enough to go ahead and face the challenge. There's also, I think, a development in Caesar's own understanding of who he's fighting. Back in the episode with Ariovistus in the first book of the war, you don't see the kind of strategy, the kind of group recruitment that you get in this episode. And it becomes clearer to us, anyway, that we're dealing with a Lich King and not simply somebody at the front of a zombie horde. Yeah. Now, you kind of had the hints about that last time when we talked about this. But Caesar, again, seems to be revealing the scale of what he's got to deal with step by step. Okay. So the first time you meet the zombie horde, they really do run at the Romans. They cut them from above, and then they retreat, and that's the end of that episode. But here, as Damien was describing, you see them. You see parts of the legions moving out in units, getting attacked, forcing those units back. You see a concentrated strategy. And when Ambiorix defeats that first legion, he's then immediately ready to go recruit others. So the scale of the threat is so much greater that Caesar now pauses, as it were, to reassemble his forces so that he can go at this with everything that he has. Whereas in Book 1, he just chased those Germans as far as he possibly could, and then gets most of them, but some get across the Rhine. Okay. But this is now blown up in a much more dramatic way. What he feared would happen effectively has happened.
This is a full-blown breakout. This is a directed breakout.
Yeah, and it's not. It's a breakout would be nice.
Yeah.
This is way more.
This is a complete regional infestation, or whatever the term would be.
And like you said, directed by a malevolent intelligence.
So Caesar's going to have to change the way that he fights.
Yes. And he sees that Ambiorix is the source. Or at least he thinks he is. Because Ariovistus is reportedly dead.
Okay. Yes.
Right?
So and the arrival of Ambiorix is when we learn that Ariovistus is dead.
Yeah.
So now we must perceive that the Lich King is able to move between figures or shift from one form to another.
Possession via the phylactery is the thing. Yeah, okay.
Whoever holds the Horcrux, as it were.
Yeah, well, that's where the Horcrux idea was, taken from, is the idea of the phylactery. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And, he knew that his time as Lich King, his job was to transfer it to a Gaul amongst the Gauls, and it could well be that Ambiorix thought that he had killed him. I still am down for the idea of Ambiorix being a very valorous man who then was infected
Possessed.
and defeated and possessed. By Ariovistus.
But again, look at Caesar's method here.
Yes.
He's identified Ariovistus as a figure like this, and then we now realize in the episode that Ambiorix is this figure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's leaving it for us to recognize that somehow the title has been transferred, and that has happened when we see the escalation of the whole crisis. And
So this is the senatorial level dropping of the hints.
yes.
For those of us who are in the know and understand some of the lore,
right,
to be able to figure out what's going on without again creating the massive panic and
exactly
that it's the end of days from the groundlings,
right?
The form.
But the increased level of strategy, the sort of coordination among groups, that's how you can see that now Caesar realizes he's dealing with the Lich King.
Okay.
Now he decides that at the end of Book 5 that he's going to stay in Gaul for the winter because the war has changed.
Yeah.
This is a new war. This, like everything prior to this, was pretense. Yeah. This is where it's starting to matter. And this is where he's really going to save Rome. Caesar tells the Gallic leaders that for the first time he is certain as to what's going on, and he tells them what his plans are after the winter. He said also to them that they'd better stay out of his way. And he kind of ends it with the meeting saying, since he declared that he knew what was going on. Boom. Done. I know what's up now. Get out of my way so I can do this. Now, Indutio Marus actually kind of rounds out the rest of the story. You remember Indutio Marus?
Vaguely.
Yeah, he's the Alice of Alice's Restaurant, right? Okay. So he's the guy that was for the Treveri. And he's the one that originally warned Caesar, these guys are a real problem for us just out to the east of us, and he took him up to Britain instead.
Oh, right.
And he brought Indutio Marus back, and the infection was already in Indutio Marus's tribe. So Indutio Marus spends the winter trying to bring the Germani across. Anyone and everyone that he can, he infects. And he tries to call a council together to trap his neighbors into the infection. And he goes back to the torture motivation. Labanus beats and kills Indutio Marus. Finally got one of them, right?
Okay.
But he's not the BBEG.
No.
He's one of his lieutenants. But he brings his head to Caesar. Specifically his head. Now this allows Ambiorix and his zombie horde to escape, by the way. And there's a wonderful quote at the end of 558. Omnes Eberonum et Nerviorum quae conveneret culpiae discedunt. Like basically all the Eberones and all the Nervii who had come together as a large force head out.
Okay.
And they escape. So that ends Book 5. Book 6, I mean, Caesar spends the first 12 chapters or so essentially going, up and down the northern coast, right? Hunting for Ambiorix.
And it's almost like open terrorism.
Yeah.
It's just destruction. He destroys everything. He burns things.
Lots of fire.
He's attacking civilians. He is just hunting now for whatever he can find.
Obsessed with Ambiorix.
And in that sense, it's the least satisfying part of the whole story so far.
Yeah.
And you can see that Caesar is just so frustrated, and he doesn't know what to do.
But he does keep using fire, because he learned from the Helvetii all the way back in Book 1.
Yeah. Burn their own villages.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
And so now,
yeah,
with the insight that we have of what the true threat is, this isn't some kind of poetic callback to the Greeks burning their ships on the shores of Troy.
Right.
We're never going back. This is in fact no, we can't ever go back. We're burning them because we're trying to eliminate the plague that we're running away from.
And it does have wonderful parallels to the Vietnam War toward the end, with the strategic Hamlet program getting, turning into we have to pacify the village to we had to burn the village to save the village. But that wasn't zombies.
No.
This very likely
Clearly.
is. Yeah. Obviously, the evidence is there.
At this point.
Exactly.
I'm convinced this is gospel. You've got me sold. I'm telling you.
So that takes us through book 6. He never finds Ambiorix. Ever. Through the entirety of his Gallic Wars.
Really?
Ambiorix is elusive.
Gets clean away.
No.
Okay.
Because remember that the Lich King need not stay in the same figure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're going to ruin Vercingetorix for me, aren't you?
Oh, Ambiorix will do that for you. But you're absolutely right. You have essentially one man who is able to unite all the Gauls with alarming speed in Book 7. Alarming speed. And incredible organization. And he sets up a hilltop town. And, and brings all the people to him.
Oh, man.
But all this movement attracts attention, and I think that he's gambling in the same way that Caesar starts to gamble. He figures if he can draw Caesar into attack him, he can wipe out the Romans in one swell foop, and then just head south and take over the entire Mediterranean.
Okay.
You have zombies swimming for days.
Okay.
So,
okay.
The quick and dirty of it is essentially that you have a lot of skirmishes and a lot of fights going back and forth. Yeah. But essentially, it really does. Everything leads to Elysium, right?
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, it's Elysium.
Elysia,
because Elysium is heaven.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an A and not an E.
Yeah. So he basically sets it up, and Caesar comes and besieges it. Right? Caesar is going to contain the threat.
Yeah.
He builds a wall.
The threat. Yeah.
Builds a wall around it.
Yeah.
I will starve them out. He still doesn't fully understand how zombies work.
Well, But
at least this way they won't get more recruits.
Yeah, well, it won't get more recruits, and in addition to the undead who are the not beating heart of the army. There were also
the death's blood.
I assume there were also civilians who were trapped. Not dead who were trapped there. Okay, same.
Well, that way you can replenish your ranks when the Romans behead your shock troops.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, and there's the horrible story of the so-called civilians actually being sent out from Elysia to Caesar's lines.
Right.
And he recognizes that this is an infection strategy, and he just literally blocks them and lets them sit there and rot.
Yeah.
Wow.
For some number of weeks. I think
and they try to go back in, and Vercingetorix is, no, I have no need for these people now. My plan didn't work. By the way, there are a number of parts where they talk about the amount of bodily fluids that are that are smelled and felt, and I mean the sensory explanations of things in Book 7 is incredibly high, and to the point where I believe he said that at one point it smelled like the worst kind of latrine there was. I would have to go back and source that, but. It really there was a large focus on the sensory aspects of this. Now, I think in some ways he played into Vercingetorix's hand because he's got all his soldiers in one spot.
Yeah.
And suddenly, out of all the places, come 250,000 more Gauls.
Okay.
Caesar has to build another wall.
I find it interesting. We're talking about 250,000 more Gauls. When there were 250,000 of the Helvetii who went missing.
Funny that.
In the beginning.
Yes.
Just, that occurred to me.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
It adds up.
I think you're in the spirit now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Carry on.
So, yes, they are.
You have me.
Yeah.
I like it.
So... and it's getting dark, and the sun is wayward. They don't. Are you saying I can't sass you? Because I can sass you. So he builds a second wall.
Are you done?
Mostly.
Because then there will be peace.
Well played, sir. So he builds a second wall.
Yeah.
To protect himself from the Gauls while he's besieging the other Gauls with another wall.
The first wall that he built.
So he's got a wall, a Gaul, and a wall. So
Yes.
And it's really upsetting to them. So it's very quite galling to them, and it takes a lot of gall for him to do this.
I wondered how long it was going to be before you went to that particular set of god-awful puns. Okay.
They were long, all of them. So, he's built a second wall, and there's some breaches in it, and there's this moment where he himself goes and fights that breach. He realizes this is it. It is literally victory or death. There is no escape for him. There's no escape for the Romans, and if he fails here, all of society, as he knows it, is gone.
Is forfeit.
Yes. So,
on the other hand,
yes,
he has the Lich King trapped within his walls at Alesia. So he knows that this exterior force really is just sort of the extras of the whole operation. And he can really remove all of them, take away the army of the Lich King, and actually retain the Lich King trapped the whole time. So I think Caesar not only realizes that this is the life and death moment, but it's also the way to flip the script back and take control of the whole story and get the kind of decisive victory that he's been trying to get
this whole time.
For 7 years.
For all this time,
Yes.
Okay.
He rides with his scarlet cloak out to with a bunch of horses, again, going for speed instead of numbers. And he attacks the Gauls, who actually end up in a retreat because they're confused. Because they're not expecting him to wheel around behind them while they're trying to attack him on the front. And he gets them, he drives them off, he drives them from the field, and then he turns his attention to Alesia. Short story of it is essentially he wins. It is a decisive victory. And a decisive victory so much so that he actually captures Vercingetorix. And here's where I'm curious as to how you can defeat a lich without killing him. Well, you can't kill him because he's immortal. So you have to separate him from his phylactery. Or you have to control his phylactery.
Yes.
Caesar gets Vercingetorix to kiss the Roman standard. Gets Vercingetorix to surrender. At some point in the battle, somehow, he has taken Vercingetorix's phylactery.
Okay.
He keeps it with him for the next. How long does Vercingetorix live? 7 years.
6 more years.
6 more years.
Because Caesar has other wars to fight.
Against
mundane people.
Yes, Romans even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Cakewalk.
Yeah.
Next to this, Vercingetorix is thrown into a prison and doesn't die despite the fact that he is essentially starved for 6 years. You know who can survive 6 years of starvation?
The undead.
Right.
Okay.
So even though you've got the phylactery that you're controlling the guy, he's still going to be living.
Yeah. Well, he's still going to be motile.
Yes. Animate.
Yeah. Yes. Animate. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
choice of word. Okay.
So he has 4 triumphs in 6 days or something like that by the time he's done with everything. And I mean, he saves Vercingetorix for the end. And he has him strangled at the end of one of his triumphs. Now, that's a normal thing, but strangulation won't kill the undead. So my theory is that at some point, while he's signaling for the strangulation, he has somebody breaking the phylactery at the same time. The Roman people are never none the wiser. Never the wiser as to what he did there. And it looks like Vercingetorix just gets strangled like any good Gallic leader would. And that's the end of the story. Romans never knowing how close to undeath their empire had gotten. How close to utter calamity humanity in Western Europe had gotten.
Yeah, okay.
And so they're none the wiser. By this point, he's had all kinds of other political issues. The Senate is doing his bidding anyway. So it doesn't really matter what the story is. Now the story can be completely about his heroism. And frankly, that's probably better for all involved that they just think of it that way, because you don't want to think of the alternative.
Well, I mean, the cosmic implications of the rest of it is kind of daunting.
Yeah.
To say the least.
So I think we've covered all of it.
I think we have. I would stress, though, that the Caesar writes 7 books of his commentaries on the Gallic that represent the 7 years that he was fighting.
Yeah.
And then he actually did stay on after that and mop up, but he doesn't write about that.
That's right.
So the work on the Gallic War that he writes ends with, I mean, literally the second to last paragraph is Vercingetorix coming out and sort of kneeling before Caesar. So, however Caesar has managed to get control over him, that's the image that he wants to leave you with, because that's the image where the threat has finally come under control.
Yes.
And then the rest of his war stories can be war stories because they're going to be back on the human plane of interaction. So I think that the ending of book 1 is the escape of Ariovistus, but then the ending of book 7 is the ultimate surrender of Vercingetorix.
Yes.
And one has to realize that the story has gone from Ariovistus through Ambiorix to Vercingetorix in order to see how neatly Caesar wraps all that up.
All right. Yeah. No, the implications of all that are kind of staggering, really. Because, I mean, moving ahead to where we go, from here in the episode.
Sure.
The thinking about takeaways kind of already. What this leads me to wonder is, where else in the historical record do we need to start looking for clues that this kind of thing has happened? Have you developed any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to caution us away from looking at massive genocides as potential moments for that because of the humanitarian implications and justifications for genocides.
Yeah, of course.
And same thing with mass migrations. Same problem. And especially as we find both of those things relating more and more to climate than necessarily to politics, I would caution us on that. But having said that, there are a number of things that have defied explanation throughout history. There are towns that no longer exist that were there the year previous. They were there when there was a census, and then they ceased to be. I would say things like that might be worth looking into.
Yeah, well, Jamestown Colony, Croatoan.
Exactly. I wonder sometimes about mass suicides.
Okay.
I'm thinking of that one cult that got taken out with one punch. Yes?
That's not cool.
Hey.
Yeah.
So, I think in moments of enormous personal ambition, sometimes we assign an intelligence to happenstance.
Okay.
We assign an intelligence to dumb fucking luck.
Yeah.
Very often. So I don't necessarily think that zombies are always the answer. Certainly not. Yeah. I do think, though, that sometimes the answer is way less organized and way less smart and clever than we'd like it to be. Because as historians, we look at history with a sense of inevitability. Of course it happened that way. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
That very often, they didn't know at the time at all. The Battle of Midway could have swung either way.
Well, the Battle of Midway could have not happened.
Right.
Yeah. To us,
yeah, it's
that's
inevitable.
The way it happened. It's inevitable.
Right.
But, had one fleet or the other made a course correction 12 hours earlier, there never would have been contact made.
There are those knife edge moments of history where nobody who's in it knows how it's going to go, and there's tremendous uncertainty.
Yeah.
I think that's more the takeaway, was that, personally, I think, having done this research, how incompetent Caesar was to the task and how he kept bird-dogging it, but he was wrong so many times. And lucky for him, he was right at the times where he needed to be. Or he was right enough. He was right adjacent.
Well, yeah, he was right frequently enough. I think that's one of the one of the things that we need to remain humble about when we're looking at historical sources. You know, everybody wants to assign genius to figures out of history, where, you know,
who sometimes fall over backward into success.
Yeah, who frequently fall over backward into success. I mean, there's an argument to be made. I hate to be the one to bring this up, but, you know, Ulysses S. Grant was a plotter. He was not a tactical genius. He was not a strategic genius.
Didn't have to be, though.
He didn't. Well, yeah, he didn't have to be. He was smart enough to recognize that the balance had shifted from offense to defense, and he was willing to spend the resources, which means lives, necessary to get final victory.
Yep.
You know, everybody wants to paint Robert E. Lee as a strategic genius. He was not an idiot.
No, he was top of his class.
Yeah, he was top of his class, but he was not.
But part of the reason he was top of his class was because they had such a draconian system of demerits.
Yeah,
and he kept his shit polished. Like,
yeah, well, and if you read what he wrote, if you read about him, he was a guy who operated within the system. He was a rules guy.
Yes.
And that was what the demerit system really rewarded, or the merit system really rewarded at West Point in those days.
Yeah.
And so you didn't have to be the smartest guy in the room to graduate top of your class. You had to be the guy who polished his shit, who showed up on time, who, you know, was an organization man.
Yeah. By contrast, MacArthur was at the bottom of his class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
but you're right. Robert E. Lee's strategies were it really helped along by the fact that he was against McClellan,
who had a beautiful army and was terrified of breaking it.
Yes.
So anyway, the overarching idea is, you know, the tendency for us as historians to want to paint one guy as a genius, one guy as an idiot. And what we need to remember is we think of them that way because, like we do with Caesar, things turned out the way they did, and we think it's inevitable. And, we want to try to assign some kind of merit to that. And a lot of the time, it's, no, he got it right when he had to.
Right. I mean, Rex and I have both read the Civil Wars, and there's a moment where he flees at night, and because Pompey didn't want to pursue him at night, that's why he escaped. He George Washington'd. Yeah. And Caesar even said, if Pompey was going to beat me, he would have beaten me that day. He knew he could have lost. He was up against a vastly superior size and what have you. Not better trained because his men had been with him for the last several years. But you know, he got lucky. And he recognized that he got lucky. Augustus did the same thing. I mean, they used to say, may you be luckier than Augustus. Like, in antiquity, there's a lot of that, you know, and in modern era as well. I mean, there's a tremendous lot. I mean, we also note the failures as failures, but the people who went into them didn't think they would be. The Battle of Verdun was supposed to be a huge victory for the Germans. The Battle of the Somme was supposed to be a huge victory.
Supposed to be a massive victory for the Allies.
It was going to end it, you know, and those didn't go well.
No.
You know,
they ended poorly.
Yeah, the Battle of the Bulge had a very legitimate chance of succeeding in breaking that side.
Oh, it came within a cat's whisker.
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
So
and everybody, and I mean anybody who was a survivor of it would be quick to tell you that was the case.
American generals thought they were going to win in Vietnam. They thought they were going to win in Afghanistan for the Russians, and then again for the Americans.
The British thought they were going to win in Afghanistan. Everybody thinks
Alexander thought he was going to win in Afghanistan.
That's Afghanistan. Yeah. Everybody at this point should understand. No, you're not going to win in Afghanistan. Nobody has ever won in Afghanistan.
Yeah. So I would say that the zombies, while an interesting take, while fascinating and obviously clearly true. Yeah. I would say that the real lesson here is more for us mundane folk. Yeah. That it doesn't really matter what you're up against. It's not certain, and history is not written.
Yeah.
Which is stupid to say, but you know the present is not written.
The present and the future are not already written.
Yes.
The idea of anything being preordained is dangerous.
Rex?
One of the advantages for Caesar, though, is that he is writing his own story.
Yes.
And he, therefore, can shape it in the way that he wants it to be shaped.
That's very true.
And I think, as I commented earlier, what's so impressive is that how he reveals this stage by stage, how he admits that he's learning on the job, and he is letting his strategy respond to the changing situation that he's facing. And his ability to both grow himself and to communicate that growth to the reader who pays attention is really part of his genius. And I think this is the sort of training that leads to his undefeated record after this. I mean, he effectively does not lose a battle.
That's true.
I mean, he sort of loses to Pompey, but he's actually challenging Pompey in that situation. Pompey breaks out of the siege that Caesar has put him in, even though Caesar has half as many men as Pompey does. Yeah. And then Pompey doesn't take advantage of the fact that Caesar has fled. But Caesar is still the one providing the pressure, making things happen, going on the...
Taking the initiative.
Yeah. And somehow... I mean, I don't want to say he's genius, but somehow he always had the sense of when that initiative should be pushed and when to back off. And I'd like to believe that's because he faced what he knew was a truly existential challenge, first off in his career. Yeah. And once you pass that, then you're really not afraid of Pompey.
Right. Nothing else is really going to faze you at that
So
point.
what if his cavalry is twice the size of mine? That's still an enemy I can defeat.
Yeah.
They have blood.
Yeah.
They have beating hearts.
Yeah. I can chase them into the foothills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if anybody has a claim, anybody from the ancient world has a claim to the kind of military genius that really stands up over time, I think it's Caesar.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, it's because he gets to write his own book. That I have been suckered into seeing the world that he wants me to see.
Well, I think this is a case, as we were saying last episode about these things. This is a case of little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
With what we said about people needing to be right, enough. It is true that there are some figures out of history who are truly exceptional. Caesar is definitely one of them. Big Chuck, I'd say, is probably the next one in European history who qualifies.
Oh, Chucky Hammer?
Chucky Hammer. Yeah, Chucky Hammer, but then his great-grandson, Big Chuck.
Oh,
okay. Carolus Magnus.
Gotcha.
I refuse to call him by the wussy-fussy Charlemagne that he's been labeled with for years. By the way, Professor Justice, thank you for introducing me to that years ago at Davis. Go Ags. But yeah, she refused to refer to him as Charlemagne. She always referred to him as Big Chuck because he was a Frank, damn it. And calling him by a highfalutin Frenchy name would have made him either laugh into his mead or want to smack somebody. So,
okay.
Anyway, he, similarly to the way that Caesar was able to, make the triumvirate happen and then deal with the instability after the triumvirate fell apart.
Sure.
Everything right up until, the Ides of March, which kind of took him by surprise. He had that level of savvy and that level of intelligence. Chuck, had the charisma and the strategic understanding to build the military system that eventually became feudalism to defend his territory from the Norse, which was the biggest threat of his time. And, at some point we can talk about, whether there's any evidence of them having been werewolves.
I like this.
If you think about berserkers for half a second, this is even actually part of their own description of the berserk frenzy. But I mean, I'm going to have to go now that you've opened my eyes to this, I'm going to have to go back and take a look at those sources.
Sure.
You really have to read carefully.
Yes. Yeah.
To get the evidence right.
And look at the stuff between the lines. Yeah. I think the Norse and the Proto-Norse had a much less deft gift for the subtle than the Romans. I think early Norse is a much less flexible language than Latin in a lot of ways. But I think I think it would be worth taking a look at for sure.
Yeah. Fun fact about Latin: there's no word for yes or no.
Bullshit.
No, there's no word for yes or no.
There's kind of a no.
There's a that's the least. And that's
Fuck
the
you.
most. Yeah.
You're kidding.
Nope.
How do you answer in the affirmative?
It's mostly right. Thus truly.
Yeah.
Or that is the best of all the possible answers is the implication.
Or you just repeat the verb.
Yeah, or
Did
you just
do that? I did.
Yeah.
You just broke my brain.
Well, you've got a society built on like political shifting alliances all the time.
Okay.
You do not want to be on the hook for having taken a stand.
You know what's
You don't.
You
could divorce your daughter from that guy in a heartbeat. That was the best. This is now the best. We're good.
People talk about the fact that in Japanese,
Uh-huh.
"Hai" means yes,
Mm-hmm.
and "hai" also means no.
Oh shit.
It literally means yes,
Uh-huh.
but you'll be asked a question, and your response will be yes. But what you're telling them is no, because
wow.
Confucian politeness is such a huge big
Right.
deal that unless you have sufficient rank over somebody, you never actually say yeah, which is no.
No. Okay.
The circumstances under which you can actually give a negative are so limited that you have to be able, like this was the thing when we had our episode talking about the 80s and we were terrified that the Japanese were going to eat our lunch.
Right.
One of the things that constantly came up was we can't trust them because they say yes and
they
they're
say no.
lying.
Right.
No, they're not lying.
They're being polite, you
Culturally,
bore.
they're being polite, you
Right.
barbarian. And
Yeah. The Romans still
but
have...
here's the deal. But here's the deal. They have a fucking word for yes.
Romans don't
and
have
a
that.
word for fucking no.
They don't have that. No. And they also, just so you know, if they want you to do something, they have a way of telling you to do it.
Okay.
They want you to not do something. They don't tell you don't do it. They tell you don't want to do it.
What?
That's how it works.
Not in the imperative. You don't want to do it.
Oh, it's the imperative for
You
to not want.
For not wanting.
Yes.
Be in a
Do
state
not
of
want.
not wanting
Yes.
to do that.
Yes.
And this is the reason that the Romans were able to just shout orders across the battlefield and use that as their code.
Yeah. No one could break it down.
How many years have you lived amongst the Romans? Not long enough to act as your battlefield translator. Jesus.
Yep. So,
My God.
Rex, did you have fun tonight?
I had fun.
Good.
It's nice to get the truth out there.
Yes, it is. Thank you for being a part of this.
We'll have to go out with the X-Files theme.
I don't think we have the BMG
No,
license.
we don't,
No.
unfortunately.
So, are there any, since the last time we met, are there any books that you've started reading?
Well, I'm going up to the Redwoods recently. I'm going up to the Redwoods in 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So I've recently been trying to read more about the Redwoods, and I read
wonderful.
this great book called Giants of the Earth, which is a compilation of writing about sequoias and redwoods since they were discovered in 1852 up until relatively recently, when there was a whole lot of contention about the supposed last stand of the redwoods. California history is so fascinating to me because it is so short.
Yeah.
Because things are discovered 170 years ago out of whole cloth. And then because that land is unclaimed, not regarding Native Americans as a legitimate presence on the land, the American government is going to say that is unclaimed land, and then you can make national parks. You can set these things aside. And that creates a whole other new kind of history.
Neat.
So it's totally related to my mundane life, but it is reading
great.
outside my profession.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic. I recommend it highly.
It's wonderful. I have several things I'm reading through. My class is working on Fahrenheit 451, as I talked about in the last episode.
Right.
At the same time as that, I'm still trying to slog my way through Joaquin Meyer's manual of swordsmanship, which if my fencing coach is listening, I'm sorry, I'm trying. And that's my homework. It's my hobby, but it's also my homework. And the issue with it is that, of course, the main weapon that we train with in class is the longsword, by which I mean, for the D&D nerds, it's a bastard sword. But anyway. But the manual starts by talking about the rapier.
Okay.
And the key, the secret from my coach is that what he talks about in the rapier are the basics that then get applied to all of the weapons in the system that he talks about from there.
Okay.
So he starts with the rapier, he moves to the dussac, then he moves to the longsword. And then he does like a backflip and a triple axle and starts talking about the poleaxe, the pike, and the halberd.
Wow.
And the staff, because they all work on the same set of body mechanics. And that's the point at which you're essentially going from the PE equivalent of algebra to the PE equivalent of trigonometry. It's like, yes, these things are related, and we have these theories that tie them together,
right.
but this is a whole other level up here.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
cool.
I'm still slogging my way through rapier, but I know that I'm going to get there eventually. I'm waiting for my brain to bleed out my ears. How about you?
Well, I've been reading comic books a lot. I started with the Fantastic Four #1, and then when I caught up to the month that Amazing Spider-Man #1 comes out, I started reading that. And then when I caught up to the month where Daredevil #1 comes out, I started with that. And when I caught up to the month of the Avengers #1, I started with that. And then the X-Men #1, I started with that.
Okay.
So I'm reading them all in publication order.
Question: When does Thor first appear in Tales of Mystery in that chronology?
I don't know. I never give a shit about Thor.
Oh,
sorry.
Come on.
No, it just, I don't know. I don't need a cartoon or a comic book of Deus Ex Machina where it's literally a god. So
you don't read Superman either? Is what
no.
Okay,
Make mine Marvel.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
So, but I'm excited because I was expecting them to address in some way, culturally, it would bleed in some way, forgive the pun, the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
Completely didn't show up anywhere in any way. There was not a greater tragedy. There was not a flashbulb moment for any of the comics. There was not like everybody crossed over or, nothing was on the news. Completely, which tells me that the audience that they were aiming at were still very much kids and not in any way adults yet. So I'm looking forward to getting to 1973 when Watergate happens, because I would like to see if that flashbulb happens with all of these titles. Now, obviously, it won't with the X-Men because they'll have been canceled by that point.
Yeah.
But it will, potentially, it could with Daredevil because he's a lawyer. It could potentially with the Avengers because Captain America is Captain America. And I do believe he witnesses a president shooting himself.
There's going to be, I know,
yeah.
And I don't know the details, but I know thematically.
Because he goes
around Watergate.
Yeah, he becomes nomad.
He has a real serious midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Which is something for a guy that's been frozen in ice for 30 years.
Right.
But yeah, he has. There's a period during which that character's arc becomes about soul searching and what do I mean.
But I'm also looking forward to running into characters of color.
Yeah.
Eventually, and it's 1966 where I'm reading right now, and hopefully, we're going to start seeing that coming in as well.
I'm trying to remember, Black Panther is only a couple of years out.
It's 68.
68, yeah.
Things like that, yeah. So anyway, I'm having a lot of fun with those. I consider comic books to be very high art, and I'm having a lot of fun with those. I did stop down for a little bit to read Peter Porker with my kids because we'd seen the Into the Spider-Verse, and they were shocked to know that was actually a comic book.
That was really a thing.
Spider-Ham.
They really did that.
Yeah. It was fun. Anyway, you can find us at Geek History Time. You could find myself at Harmony on Twitter.
You can find me at EH Blaylock on Twitter.
If you want to find Rex, you have to get into UC Davis and get into the classics.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
come read some Caesar.
Hunt for him.
it's worth it. It's totally worth it. But he's a little harder to access than us.
Is your department located in the Death Star? Or
No. We're in the Tower of Babel.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah, it kind of does. Actually,
Yes,
it does.
Awesome.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Rex, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful having you. Thank you.
For all of us at Geek History of Time, I'm Damien Harmony.
And I'm Ed Blaylock. And until next time, aim for the head.